I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is from Nigeria. He is a Dynamics AX 2012 and Dynamics 365 FNO Technical Consultant at GEM Consulting. His first award is MVP in 2023. He is a Microsoft certified trainer who's delivered both functional and technical training to users both in French and English. So bilingual, amazing. You can find links to his bio and social media in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, Komi.
Hi, thank you, Smith. I'm very, very happy to be here.
I'm pleased to have you on the show. Before we get started, I always like to find out a bit about where my guest is from, the geography, a bit about their family, what they do for fun when they're not doing, Microsoft business applications work. And then if I was to come to your region, what's the best food that I should eat?
Okay, so to start with, I'm originally from Togo. Togo is a French-speaking country in West Africa, but currently I am in Nigeria, where I'm working as a Dynamics consultant. All right, so when we talk about the climate, it's basically the same thing in West Africa. It's either sunny or it's raining. Yeah, so talking about the food, I would say we have what we call the Nigerian jollof, which everybody likes to taste whenever they are either in Nigeria, in Ghana, or in Togo.
Tell me a bit about that food. What's it made of?
All right, so most of our foods here are made of corn or maize, and we eat a lot of soups that are made of vegetables. So we have varieties of soup rather. In Nigeria alone, we have thousands of soup. So some of them are egusi soup, vegetable soup, egikaiko, okra, so on and so forth.
Nice. Sounds like fun. If people are to visit Nigeria or your home country, what do you recommend that they do and see?
All right. So in Nigeria, or let me be specific about Lagos. Lagos is the economic city of Nigeria. So we have what we call the mainland and the island. All right. So the island is, of course, surrounded with water. And there you have the big industries when it comes to tech, when it comes to oil and gas, when it comes to finance and the rest of them. All right. And we have beautiful beaches around Lagos. And when you come to the mainland, we have some museum, we have the theater center, we have the National Stadium, and we also have a lot of bars where you can go and taste these local drinks and local food.
Nice. What's the biggest sport in Lagos? Is it soccer? Is soccer what everybody follows,
football.
or football?
Yes, it is.
Nice.
As a matter of fact, we have a lot of football fans. Some of them prefer Messi over Ronaldo. So you see them arguing all the time. Ronaldo is the best. This one said Messi is the best. So football is the most predominant sport here in Lagos.
Nice. How did you get into technology?
All right. So I would say I got really interested in technology way back in 2013. So I had a cousin. Um, so I do visit him, and he has a brother then. So we were just discussing, and he started telling me about this whole web development thing, how you can create websites, so on and so forth. So from there, I picked interest. And I think a week later, I came back to him and I told him, hey, I'm currently interested in learning this web thing you talked about the other day. So at that time, I was a French language teacher. So I was teaching French in high school, right? So it was a part-time job. So I told him, I'm not fully occupied. After my classes, I can come to you and you teach me this web development. So he said, okay, fine. Then we started with HTML. From HTML, we went to CSS. From CSS, then we went to JavaScript. All right. So after the first 4 weeks of the classes that we had, I tried to create a simple website using WordPress. So from there, I was able to see how I can manipulate WordPress sites using CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and we went on and learned PHP. Of course, WordPress is built with PHP, so I can easily modify this PHP code by going to the index file, remove the footer, and put my own footer and some other things like that. So with that, I was able to find much more interest in programming, most especially the web development. And I was able to get some jobs in web development. I was able to design websites to some schools. I was able to also design an e-commerce website for a friend who lives in France. So with that, I was able to build more on the web development skills. So that's how I actually got into tech.
Wow. So that's a big jump though, because you went from web design, front-end development into ultimately now being in Dynamics 365 finance. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
How did you make that jump? What was the initial Dynamics related project? How did you get involved in Dynamics?
All right. So while I was teaching, right, I happened to find myself in a WhatsApp group where you meet French-speaking fellows. So there was a day, I think there was a post that came into the group that talked about PHP, a PHP framework. So I was able to comment on it. Then someone inboxed me and say, hey, so you know how to write code? I said, yes. So we became friends. At the time, he was already working as a dynamics expert. He was a technical consultant. So we became friends. 2 years later, he told me, hey, I have a job for you. Will you be interested? So in my mind, I was like, is it a teaching job? He said, no, you like teaching so much. So he told me, I want you to venture into something new, which is Microsoft Dynamics environment. So at that time, it was really AX 2012, AX 2009, and AX 16, AX 7 rather.
Yeah. So all on premise, right? All on premise deployments.
Yes, on premise.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he explained everything to me and told me the company at the time wants someone that speaks French as well. So the plan was to see how the company can venture into the francophone market. So that was how I got into Dynamics without having any prior knowledge of what business processes is. So that's just how I did. I took that leap from being a web developer into the Dynamics space.
How many projects have you worked on now? What's your depth of knowledge around Dynamics? Do you just focus on finance or do you do supply chain or anything else?
All right. So not just finance, supply chain, human resource. Yeah. I would say the exemption is just the commerce side of it. But for all the implementation that I've done, I've worked on finance modules, human resources, supply chain modules.
Interesting, because if you did commerce, then you'd be going full loop, right? Because commerce is the front end. You can get into the e-commerce side of things as well, which is back on web design again.
Yeah.
Why have you stuck with finance, have you looked at Dynamics 365 customer service and looked at what's available in there, like in the CRM space? Do you do any work in that space, and do you do any work on the Power Platform?
All right. So when it comes to CRM, yes, I've done few works there because I had a project where I need to do some integration between FNO and the customer engagement. So with the help of dual rights, I needed to test my integration. So with that, I wouldn't have to wait for someone from CE to validate my integration. So what I need to do is to do some hands-on CE, how to create contacts, how to create accounts, how to create products in CE, how to create orders, push them to FO and see how that relates, right? A little bit of Power Platform as well. I could remember my very first task when I joined James Consulting was to do an automation using Power Automate. So when a vendor is created in F&O, send an email notification to Gmail. So that was my very first task, and it was wow. I was receiving emails over and over and over because the trigger was just continuous. So I had to stop it. So I'll say that I have a little bit of experience with Power Platform and also customer engagement.
Excellent. What out of all the different modules, etc., that you work with in the Dynamics 365 portfolio, what do you like working with the most?
So I would say human resource module, the general ledger, fixed asset module, the system administration module, of course, the organization administration module, cash and bank module.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are the main ones.
A few of them.
And are you still doing a lot of training, or are you just now consulting only?
Okay, yeah. So I do more of consulting, and I also offer trainings. Of course, when we have implementations during the life cycle of the project, there are times where we need to train those users. So I also do partake in these trainings.
Yeah, fantastic. How did you become an MVP? What was your journey to becoming an MVP?
All right. So the journey to becoming an MVP started exactly 1 year ago. So I had a colleague in the office where we're talking about some, what I call them, some fathers in Dynamics F&O, people like Andre, Peter Rama, there's this other guy on the community who's Martins. Yes, Martins. So we're like, it's something we can also have in James Consulting. So I told him, you know what, I'm going to become the next MVP or the first MVP in James. So that's how it all began. I went to the community, I started answering questions. I also created a blog where I tried to post some of my works also. So with that, I think it was actually fruitful, and I became MVP.
Wow. So you're the first one in Gem to become the MVP?
Yes, I am.
Wow. That is fantastic. And it's fantastic. It only took you a year to get to that point. When you look at your MVP contributions, are they mainly on the forums that you're doing or mainly on blogging?
Yeah, so both forums, blogging, and sometimes I also do speaking at some events online.
Ah, okay. And do you enjoy doing the online speaking events, and are they more in English or more in French?
Yeah, so I enjoy both. So far, I've done just 2 in French,
mm-hmm.
and I'm looking forward to doing more in French, actually.
Awesome. I just think that it's really important that, there's lots of English-speaking content around the world, and I think that to create content in other languages is so important because it makes it more accessible to people. If that's their first, language or primary language, it makes it easier for them to learn and consume content. So I think that's amazing. I see you've got a heap of badges on the Dynamics 365 community 1,444 posts, 1,493 comments. You do a lot up there.
Yeah. Actually, so last year before December, yeah. So my fiancée Dan, which is now my wife, she always pushes me to go to the community, right? Because there was a time where I was going into cryptocurrency. I always try to check my portfolio. So she'll be like, "Are you doing crypto or you are in the community?" So when she sees that I'm actually in the community, she doesn't say anything. But when she sees me doing crypto, she tends to complain. So I also say she has really been a push to me. She has really motivated me because I told her the goal is I want to get the MVP or I want to be able to contribute to the community. And one other thing I also learned is that contributing to the community helps me to learn more, right? Because there are some questions that before you answer them, you even learn more.
Mm-mm. Are you familiar?
So I think that's
Carry on.
Yeah, so I think that has also helped me in learning.
Yeah, agreed. Are you familiar with the FastTrack Recognized Solution Architecture program?
Yes, I am.
Are you planning on becoming one?
Yes, I am actually applying to becoming one.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move, for somebody in the finance and operations side, following the principles of success by design that Microsoft, have published. And I think that covers around 7,000 implementations around the world, all the learnings in that success by design book, plus there's a Dynamics 365 implementation portal. I don't know if you've got access to that, but if you start putting all the projects that you're working on in that portal, it's definitely a pathway to facilitating getting that FastTrack Recognized Solution Architecture title, which I think, in my opinion, it's more valuable than an MVP title, because it shows your deep technical skills and handling projects using Microsoft's best practice for your customers. So I hope to see you as a FastTrack Recognized Solution Architect in the future, and perhaps come back on the show and tell us about that. Last question for you. What's the one bit of advice you'd give to other people in Africa wanting to become an MVP?
Okay, so the advice is you just need to learn and be patient, right? Whether you want to become an MVP, you want to become anything else, I think the key is keep on learning and be patient, because once the time comes, everything that you've done in the past will help you get to the top.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.